Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, billions of dollars found for the governor's proposed budget, the deal that may spell relief for hundreds of thousands of UC students and their parents.
The San Diego Police Department says justice reforms have been made, but community activists say they want more accountability. I'm Peggy Pico with an update. Plus, you've got a second chance to join in San Diego Annual's Bike to Work Day thanks to a little rain, pushing it back 2 weeks. Our update on biking in San Diego.
Plus, fish caught off the coast of La Jolla, leading scientists to a hot discovery. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. A budget surplus soaring to new heights. Governor Jerry Brown proposed a record $115 billion spending plan today for California. He revised his budget proposal from January to reflect nearly $7 billion in new revenues after tax returns came in higher than expected. Brown's plan calls for a new state tax credit for the working poor. It also sends more money to public schools. This deal also covers hundreds of thousands of UC students. The bottom line, the budget freezes tuition fees temporarily. KPBS education reporter Matt Bowler has more on what the governor and UC president Janet Napolitano call a historic agreement.
One part of the deal grabbing attention is tuition at all UC schools will be frozen for at least the next 2 years. That means it'll cost $12,804 for undergraduate tuition at any University of California school until at least 2017. This is what the governor had to say.
The fundamentals of what government's supposed to do, health and education, that's the focus on our spending.
Some other aspects of the deal are the UC base budget will go up by 4% every year for at least the next 4 years. $436 million will be sent to the UC pension fund. Non-resident student tuition will go up by 8%. 1/3 of UC students must be transfer students, like from community colleges. Tuition is set to go up to 2017, but officials say it'll go up with the rate of inflation. Matt Bowler, KPBS News.
Now, Republican leaders weighed in on the budget as well. They say the proposed tax credit for low-income workers should be debated.
We have to keep faith, and the legislature dare not now go on a spending spree with all this new money. That's been done 2 times previously in recent memory.
Our coverage of the state budget continues on air at KPBS Radio and online at kpbs.org. The agency that provides water to San Diego and other local water companies is now making its own water restrictions. San Diego County Water Authority voted to cut back watering lawns to 2 days a week. Although many cities like San Diego already have water restrictions in place, the policies aren't consistent across the region. That changes with the Water Authority's vote today.
But we have a very extraordinary situation on our hands with the ongoing severity of the drought and the significant water use cuts that the state has imposed on all of our member agencies. So we're looking at some new and different measures, such as a regional restriction on outdoor water use, which we haven't imposed before, to help our member agencies hit those targets.
The agency will also spend $1 million on outreach, including a smartphone app and guides for homeowners. Well, it may be the first sign of a legal fight for a county elected official accused of bad behavior. Supervisor Dave Roberts is accused of a series of wrongdoings, including misusing county funds. KPBS Metro reporter Taryn Minto joins us from the newsroom with more on the allegations. Taryn, tell us where these accusations are coming from and who's making them.
The allegations were made in the claim with the county that was filed by Diane Porter. She's a former office manager and scheduler for County Supervisor Dave Roberts. She says she left his office in April after she was ridiculed for raising concerns about some of Roberts' actions. She's actually one of several employees to leave the supervisor's office in recent months.
And what are some of the things she's saying?
In the complaint, she says he used county funds to purchase baseball cards with his face on them, and she says he later asked her to get rid of them when it was pointed out to him that it could be an inappropriate expenditure. The complaint actually includes an image of the card she references in the claim. And Porter also claims that Roberts asked her and other staffers to do campaign work while they were on county time. And she alleges that Roberts again misused public funds when he relied on a staff member as a personal chauffeur. She claims many of the events Roberts was driven to included campaign events.
And Taryn, what does Supervisor Roberts say about these allegations?
Supervisor Roberts responded in a statement today. He says, "I am disheartened to see the allegations contained in one former employee's complaint that was filed with the county on Wednesday. This claim contains many inaccuracies." He adds, "I am confident that if this matter advances further, the inaccuracies will be proven for what they are. As the allegations currently present a threat of litigation, I cannot discuss them further at this time."
KPBS Metro reporter Taryn Mento. You can go to kpbs.org to read details of that complaint. There's a new face in the race to replace California Senator Barbara Boxer, Congresswoman Loretta Sanchez of Orange County. Her announcement today injects competition in the 2016 race that had been shaping up as a runaway for another Democrat, State Attorney General Kamala Harris. The announcement from the 55-year-old Sanchez came after 2 days of mixed signals. State senators have passed a controversial bill designed to increase California's school immunization rates. The bill, approved today, would prohibit parents from seeking vaccine exemptions for their children because of religious or personal beliefs. The measure would make medical waivers available only for kids who have health problems. Opposition was felt around the state and in San Diego as well. Some parents say the bill strips them from their rights.
We are incredibly respectful of religion. We're incredibly respectful of faith. And in many ways, as I mentioned, I see this as an affirmation of love for human life and human dignity. This is about protecting people, protecting their lives, and making sure that they don't have to suffer and die from communicable diseases that we have the tools to prevent.
The bill now goes to the Assembly. New questions about police reforms in San Diego. Police Chief Shelley Zimmerman says changes have been made since a Department of Justice review, but community activists say what's lacking is accountability. Peggy Pico explains.
Questions about the status and relationship between San Diego's police department and black communities, police partnerships, and racial profiling were asked in last night's meeting. No one from the San Diego Police Department could join us for this interview, but we hope to bring you an interview with the police chief tomorrow. In the meantime, my guest, Aaron Harvey, was jailed for 7 months on gang conspiracy charges until a judge dismissed the charges against him in March. He's since become an activist and was at last night's meeting and joins us with his perspective. And Aaron, what message did you take to San Diego's police chief?
That the relationship between the police department and the community is very strained. And also you can have all the recommendations and implementations that you want, but if there's no accountability on behalf of those who don't follow those rules, then it doesn't matter. And we just want accountability.
What was Chief Zimmerman's response?
She went on to tell me that how they are working to make things better and things like that. But, you know, I feel like whenever there's going to be any type of change made to enhance a group of people, then those group of people need to be sitting down at the table. Because how can you tell somebody what they need? You know, only the people being affected know what they need.
So when you're talking about accountability, what are you talking about specifically? Accountability from community members, accountability from police?
From both, but since we're specifically speaking on the police department, if you have policies set in place and these policies aren't being followed correctly and there's misconduct and things like that, yeah, there needs to be consequences. Now, whatever those consequences are between her and her constituents, but there needs to be some type of consequences. And then for the ones who are following those policies, there needs to be some type of gratitude towards them, positive reinforcement in that nature, and that will build trust between the community and the police department. And right now, we just don't have it.
Now, there's a study underway on racial profiling at traffic stops, San Diego, commissioned by the San Diego Police Department. Do you see that as a sign of accountability, as a sign that the department is taking this issue seriously?
Well, they already did their own, and it showed that there was a racial profiling problem. I don't believe that letting, San Diego State doing their same research is going to show anything different. And also, there needs to be a report that includes all stops. The people who are being targeted the most and are being stopped, the age bracket, don't have cars. So majority of the stops, in regards to my stops, being stopped by the police well over 50 in the 70s something times, the majority of those stops weren't in cars. They were on the street, walking, hanging out, and things of that nature. So if they would do a report on all stops, then that would really show that there is a racial profiling problem.
Remind us of your experience in regards to racial profiling or your experience with the San Diego Police Department.
Well, through my lifespan of living in District 4, again, I've been stopped by the police well over in the 50s. I don't have the accurate number, but I know it's well over 50 times.
A number of 50 times. And remind people where District 4 is.
Southeast San Diego, specifically the community of Lincoln Park. And I've had positive interactions, but for the majority, I've had negative interactions where I'm just constantly harassed, pulled over, handcuffed, my car being searched illegally. Being detained illegally, threatened, and things of that nature by the police department. So, and it goes into why the people don't file complaints. Last night at the city council meeting, the room was full of police officers. That's not going to bring community there because there's a distrust there. The people are living in fear of the police department. So if you want the community to speak out and voice their concerns that they're having with the police department, I'm not going to step up to the mic and speak on police officers, or not even specifically police officers, but my experience if the room is filled with police officers.
So what should people do? What should community members do? Because they also have to step up and speak as well.
There needs to be a safeguarded way for community members to be able to voice their concerns. And right now, I believe we don't have one. The complaint process needs to be reconstructed. And even meetings like that, Zimmerman needs to come, either her or one or two other people, and listen to the community. You can't bring an army or a force there and expect the community to show up.
All right. Unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Aaron Harvey, thanks so much for the update.
All righty. Thank you.
Mexican officials are promising big improvements in working conditions for Baja California farm workers after a 2-month strike. Last night, they signed an agreement guaranteeing things from Social Security to formal union status for workers. It includes preliminary approval of a pay raise from about $8 a day to about $13 a day. But it's not a done deal. Wage talks are expected to continue on June 4th. On the science desk, a hot new discovery off the coast of San Diego. Marine scientists found a fully warm-blooded fish. KPBS science reporter David Wagner shows us why their colleagues are so excited about this discovery.
The opa is a fish known for its unusual shape. Here in this photo, you can see that it kind of has this weird, round, silvery body, and that's why it's sometimes known as the moonfish. Researchers have been catching more and more of these opa in local waters in recent years, and despite looking something like a manhole cover that sprouted fins, the opa actually turns out to be a fast and formidable predator. Nick Wegner with the Southwest Fisheries Science Center thinks he now knows why. Sticking a thermometer into the opa led him and his colleagues to a surprise discovery.
It's the first fish that has actually a warm heart. And this is really significant because what it allows the fish to do is stay at depth in cold water and function at a higher level.
Wegner says with only a few minor exceptions, fish are all cold-blooded. The OPA is the first example of a fish able to warm its muscles and organs above temperature of surrounding waters. Wagner's study was published today in the journal Science. David Wagner, KPBS News.
Rising from the ashes, we showed you how county and fire leaders are preparing for fire season last night, 1 year after wind-whipped wildfires tore through the backcountry. Now, KPBS reporter Susan Murphy shows us the fire victims who are still rebuilding.
When the Cocos fire raced through the hills of San Marcos a year ago today, Dan Eubank's 4,000-square-foot home was among the casualties.
We lost 32 years of our life, really. We built the home in 1981, 82, and we'd worked on it for every minute of every day up until right before the fire.
The 64-year-old retired architect and carpenter and his wife Susan Eubank were at their Coronado Hills home that afternoon when they first saw smoke in the distance.
I called 911 and they took my information. And I said, there are no fire trucks, no sirens, no sheriffs, nothing. But the fire is raging up here.
They spent 3 hours trying to protect their property.
We had a fire hydrant, fire hose about 300 feet, and we wet everything down during that interim period, hoping that it would save it. But the fire was so ferocious.
And fire crews had not yet arrived when the flames closed in. Eubank says they evacuated with just the clothes on their backs. A video he shot captures the emotion of the moment.
Goodbye, house. Goodbye, 30 years of my life. Thanks a lot. Thanks a hell of a lot, fire department.
And we went to the bottom of the hill and watched our house burn overnight. Then we watched it. That was Wednesday. We watched it burn on Thursday. We watched it burn on Friday. It took 3 days for my house to burn down. Nobody ever stopped here to put any water on it.
The experience was surreal.
We held on to the thought that we could come up here and sift through the ashes and find my wife's grandmother's jewelry, that sort of thing. It doesn't happen. There is nothing left. It melts everything.
He says he's cried just once when his 3 kids and 7 grandkids arrived to see the devastation.
Because they grew up here, and the grandkids, I'd made it kind of like a fantasy land for the kids, and I had zip lines and swings and all kinds of stuff.
He had also built 27 other houses in the hills that border the city of San Marcos.
3 at least burned to the ground.
The Eubanks are rebuilding their home. Wooden beams and plywood outline the new 2-story structure. It remains surrounded by acres of charred land and splintered trees, new this time as a fire bunker, in case they ever need to take refuge again.
It's made out of concrete, and the first thing I put back, and it's only 7 feet wide, 20 feet long, and that's where we're sleeping at night.
Eubank says his insurance is only covering about half of his rebuilding costs.
Insurance is a little tough because I have California Fair Plan, because when they had the 07 fires, our insurance was canceled, even though we weren't anywhere near. So the only option I had was to sign on with the state of California, and they have a kind of a bare bones policy.
Still, he and his wife started their rebuilding project with a lot of enthusiasm.
Thinking, well, we've done it before, we can do it again. And I thought each day would get easier, but actually each day gets harder. Physically, it's taken a real toll on my wife and I. And if it weren't for my great neighbors that helped me, we would have probably given up.
Eubank is disabled and can only lift about 10 pounds, so much of the heavy lifting is done by a handful of his devoted neighbors who spend several hours every day helping to construct the home, piece by piece, like Wayne Veris.
He built our house, and so I've known him for a very long time.
Veris, a retired college dean, says he vowed to help Eubank rebuild the night he watched his friend's house disintegrate in the flames.
This hill, if you look around, you'll see his fingerprints on many, many homes. He's helped many of the families on this hill. And so anything we can do to give back to them really is what we were thinking. It's not about us. It's really about trying to help him out, as he's helped all of us his whole life.
Eubank says progress has been slow, but he's hopeful the house will be completed by next year. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
Now, CAL FIRE responded to KPBS with a statement. They say firefighters from across the state help with the safe evacuation of more than 121,000 people, and they also help save thousands of homes and commercial properties. CAL FIRE adds, during times of disasters, difficult decisions have to be made, including determining how to provide the greatest protection for our entire community, not just a single home.
On the next news hour, the economics driving big corporations to raise the wages of their lowest paid workers. That's Thursday on the PBS News Hour.
Homeowners and business owners want state lawmakers to back away from any attempts to regulate Airbnbs. There is a bill at the state capitol that would collect taxes on these short-term rentals. San Diego is among several cities debating rules for Airbnbs. The city of Santa Monica just passed an ordinance to collect a 14% hotel tax. Stormy weather thwarting Bike to Work Day in San Diego. The annual campaign happens every spring, prompting folks to leave their cars behind for a day on two wheels. Peggy Pico explains the impact and why you still have a chance to participate.
Here in San Diego, Bike to Work Day is sponsored by Sandag, but tomorrow's event was rained out and rescheduled for May 29th. Joining me with an update on biking and transportation in San Diego are my guests, Andy Hanshaw with the San Diego County Bike Coalition and Elizabeth Cox with Sandag, the San Diego Association of Governments. And Elizabeth, how many people are you expecting to participate in this year's Bike to Work event?
Well, last year we had more than 8,700 people participate. We're certainly expecting that will grow. With the event being postponed from tomorrow, May 15th to May 29th, we're certainly hoping a lot more people will be able to participate.
That's right. They've got a little lead notice.
They've got a little bit extra
time, second chance.
And I think that'll bring out more folks that might not have been comfortable biking in the rain.
How does it compare, this year's numbers, to years in the past? Are we growing?
We continue to grow. You know, obviously we won't know how many people participate until the day of, but this year we're inviting people to take the pledge to go by bike at iCommuteSD.com. So that's a great metric for us to be able to anticipate how many people will be attending.
Why do you think this event is especially important in San Diego?
Well, San Diego is a great place to ride a bike. We have, average of 71-degree temperatures, so it's perfect year-round. A great mode choice to be able to get out of the car. If you're traveling between, 1 to 2 miles, about 40% of the trips we take are actually less than 2 miles, and that's a great choice to be able to hop on two wheels and run an errand, go to the store, meet a friend for coffee.
And when you do, Andy, there's been some changes in San Diego recently for bicyclists. Can you remind us of what some of those are?
Sure. Related to those short trips, San Diego has rolled out the nation's newest bike share system. So Deco bikes are all over the streets in the city of San Diego, and the plan is for 1,800 bikes at 180 locations, where it's really a transportation system for people to take those short trips by bike and to have convenient access in their neighborhoods, to go to places, their shopping, their work, downtown in the urban areas where it's starting, but it'll roll out, and it's going to be a really effective system, and it already shown to be that with the ridership numbers that they're getting.
And there's been some more bike paths, right?
Yeah, there's been all across the region. There's a lot of great work going on, implementing new bikeways. There's a great regional bike plan with $200 million invested over the next 10 years for great projects to connect bikeways to communities, to neighborhoods. Our regional bike network is really growing, and that includes a lot of really good things in the city. And the city's increasing their bike lanes, widening them, changing our streetscape to accommodate multiple road users, including bicycles and pedestrians. So there's a lot of good signs.
And on that note, Elizabeth, what is Sandag doing as far as making recommendations for encouraging bike riding as a viable transportation option in the future?
Well, Andy mentioned the Regional Transportation Plan, our early action program, that $200 million for the next 10 years of bikeways. But biking is definitely a priority mode in San Diego. The Regional Transportation Plan, which has been combined now with the Regional Comprehensive Plan as San Diego Forward, the regional plan, is a blueprint for our transportation system over the next 35 years. And biking is definitely a piece of that. So that $200 million will fund 42 projects across 77 miles of bikeways over the next decade.
Well, let me have Andy add to that, because I know San Diego's proposed climate action plan calls for increasing bike ridership to 6%. Currently, I understand we're at 2%. Right. How do we close that gap?
By creating those safer places for people to ride, to connect the infrastructure for bicycling in our neighborhoods, in our communities, and to really, these projects that Elizabeth spoke of that are part of the regional bike plan are going to do just that. So in order for us to move that needle, we need to build those bikeways that connect those neighborhoods to those places where people want to ride, and give people the choice. It's really about having a transportation choice that's safe and comfortable when you ride. And that's the goal of the regional bike plan, and that's what these projects are all about.
So we've got about 2 weeks. San Diego's Bike to Work Day is now scheduled for Friday, May 29th. Let me ask you first, Andy, what's your best advice for people who have kids or normally don't ride their bikes that much to participate in this?
Sure. So plan your route would be the first thing I would tell you. And there's a great new updated regional bike map that they can reference on that's online at Go by Bike, or they can so plan their route, be prepared for weather, whatever it is, and really have fun with it. Pack, if you're going to pack clothes for work, carry. They have a backpack or bike bags. They call them panniers, or other things that you can use to accessorize your bike to be ready to commute by bike.
And do you have any advice?
Let's go to iCommuteSD.com and take that pledge to go by bike. We are contacting all of the pit stop hosts that were scheduled for tomorrow to reschedule for May 29th. We had over 104 volunteer this year, and we're hoping that the majority of them will come back and come out and support on May 29th. They're open from 6 to 9 a.m. They've got snacks, encouragement, they'll have water, and that's the only place to pick up the Bike to Work Day t-shirt.
So if you're going to ride a bike, that's the day to do it. A lot of fun. Elizabeth Cox and Andy Hanshaw, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks more like umbrella weather. A late-season Pacific storm hit San Diego today, bringing cooler temperatures, rain, and strong winds, even the possibility of mountain snow. We've had reports from sprinkles to downpours in the last few hours. We're looking at 60s by the beaches over the next few days, and 60s in the inland valleys as well. The heaviest showers were expected to come tonight and tomorrow, with 40s and 50s expected in the mountain areas, 70s and 80s for the desert. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great night.